to start. Again, why waste money or equity or anything on an engineer if you don't know what you're building? And again, you go out and sell or propose ideas, talk to people, and more times than not, engineers are not necessarily the ones that are going out and talking to these people. If you have an engineer that can do both, great. Bring an engineer, have them go talk to people. But I think sales first, find out what you want to build, then bring on that engineer, whether it's a partner or your first hire. Start off.
Yeah, I think by definition, if you're going to be a good entrepreneur, you're a sales guy, right? So you're not necessarily going to be that guy that wants to carry a bag and go and day in and day out sell. But the fact is, you gotta convince Aunt Philomena to give you money. You gotta convince the VCs. You gotta convince your spouse that you're gonna do this. Whatever it is, you gotta go. All these, you gotta sell all these things. You gotta sell those first couple of customers. So I think if you have nobody that has at least that to be able to convince somebody of your passion, you got a big problem. So I think that DNA should be able to get the first couple of clients. So if the question is, okay, so when do I get somebody that that's going to basically carry a bag every day? That's really depends sort of on the company, right? So and where you're going, and how you're gonna like grow the business. You might be doing a product team first, and having the VP, the CEO / founder doing a lot of the initial sales. Maybe you're doing it with just some marketing. So it kind of depends on where the company is. But really, from the beginning, there should be some thought of somebody on the team that can convince people that you're not just crazy. You're doing something that matters.
So one thing I would add to that is I think marketing is probably the better area to invest in, sort of either through ads or outsourcing, or have you filled the funnel. If you're an entrepreneur and understand your product and understand your customer base, you're really early on the best person to convince the people that they should really invest into this product. Now, the problem often is you don't give as many presentations and you don't get enough exposure in order to fill this funnel of prospects and to fill up all your week. Basically, you should be giving as many presentations as possible. So my take on this is reinvest early revenues from customers into marketing so that we can get the exposure and try to fill in the prospect channel. You become a salesperson, at least for the time being, until you just can't cope with all this presentation and then you hire a sales guy. That would be my thing.
So if you're an engineer that has an enterprise product that you want to get started, then and you know that sales may not be your strong suite too, even if it is, you can't necessarily do everything. So the recommendation here, if you're an engineer or founder, then you perhaps could hire someone that's a sales co-founder here.
If you don't think you can get one deal, 2 deals without, on your own, then, I think it's going to be hard to convince anybody. You wouldn't convince me. I consider myself a fairly decent sales guy. You wouldn't be able to convince me to come on board if you never had anybody that said this was a worthwhile product. So I think, yes, if you really don't even think you can convince a single investor or a single family member, friend, or whatever, that this is a worthwhile venture, then yeah, you probably should have somebody on your team that can do that.
I also think, to your point, like I agree with, in the sense that you want to give a lot of presentations and get your word out there. I don't think marketing is something that you want to do in an early stage. I mean, just from personal experience with single platform, we've done marketing since being acquired. We've done marketing, and so it's been since last June we've had marketing, and we still haven't closed a single enterprise client because of marketing efforts. It's all direct sales. It's all going out and meeting people. It's not brand awareness.
I have a different experience. I find incoming calls a lot easier to close than outgoing calls.
Of course. But are you getting those incoming calls when you put out marketing dollars?
Well, that's a different question, but you know, you get some, you don't know exactly what happens. Sometimes it comes from an unexpected source, a random conversation at a conference, somebody recommends you. I think it speaks volumes if there is a third party that says, talk to this guy about that. You may just like his product.
Of course.
It's amazing. This is the closest sales, the fastest sales ever if we get recommended by a third party.
Yeah, and I agree. That's 100% a warm lead. Like that's everybody's dream.
Yeah.
But
So
how much are you
marketing
gonna,
comes with that, you know,
how much are you gonna
going
spend to
business
get that
development.
warm lead? And like that's where the question comes in. You know, is it worth more effort into flying out and meeting with people than spending, you know, $20,000 on Google AdWords? Because going out and meeting with someone face to face, that's something that close the deal. And that's something that,
Yeah.
you know, an advertisement or somebody, you know, they can't necessarily say, they can't necessarily sell your product as well as you. You know your product best, you're there face to face, and you're the one who's going to get the deal done.
Yeah, absolutely. At least in the initial stages, I think investing early on in a salesperson is going to be a costly venture, and you have to educate that salesperson to really sell the packaged product. Until you figure out how to package it correctly, how to tell the story yourself, you can't really educate anybody about it. So that's why I think that it's investing into business development and marketing and facilitating as much incoming traffic as possible by hook or by crook is the way to go in the initial phase.
Just out of curiosity, are there any pure technical founders here that, okay. Do you guys agree in the sense that as technical founders, having the ability to sell is pretty critical, whether you have it within your own DNA or
We split our, well, I come with a mix of technical and business experience, and my co-founder is a pure technical. And I have experience, good knowledge and experience with technical. I'm shielding myself from anything to do with technical, and we're focusing only on the sales and marketing. Sales, basically. That's a good point. We don't want to spend any time on marketing, so we go out and get the clients. While the technical stuff is I'm completely locked out. I'm more for product manager, but not doing anything technical, which is great because your head is focused on one thing, and you really learn much more than try to bounce between different things at the same time.
I saw one more hand raised back there.
What was the question?
The question was, do you guys, in terms of if you're a solo technical founder, you know, and sales is not necessarily your sweet spot or DNA, do you go out and find a sales co-founder and do that fairly early, or do you take on the responsibility of either do that or take on the responsibility of picking up the sales?
I mean, until I feel like I can find somebody, I do try to take that responsibility myself to the extent that I feel like I'm capable of it. But being that I'm a technical guy, it's still difficult for me, almost personality-wise, to do this, and I realize that. But I think my biggest problem is trying to find somebody.
Alright, so moving on.
Can I say something about the last part?
Go ahead.
You mentioned that marketing is not really that useful, but it just depends on what kind of product you're selling. My background's in a marketing agency, and for like B2B services and software, you can make thousands of leads that turn into sales through AdWords if you're hitting the right keywords, if you're hitting the right audience. But it just depends on whether you're reaching a tech-savvy audience that wants what you're selling in that way. Whereas some companies, like it really is all about in person to really get them interested.
So one of the things the trend of is this consumerization of the enterprise, the idea that you can take a lot of the consumer-based principles and get your product in there through the actual users of the product, versus the buyer might be different from the actual user. So certain things have definitely changed with consumerization of the enterprise. But where does sort of the some of the myth around it and stop